But I mean, that would be an understanding with, you know,
Yeah.
saying you'd be willing to enter into that pool.
Kind of a big stretch, but that's along the lines of the Meals on Wheels program.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, and people still do that, but you'd have to test it somewhere, because the other thing you get where you don't have Meals on Wheels is, there's a liability or a risk that every adult's gonna have to sign, especially when there's a minor in the car, in terms of protecting yourself against sexual harassment, things like that. There's some extra things that you have to work on, but you know, even if we did a minimum pilot program where we were getting somebody, it's, you know, and who knows, and I'm sure there's somebody doing this. I wouldn't think surely we're the first city in the nation to think of using volunteers to, with their own cars to pick up.
It's hard to get volunteers.
it
Do you
is.
think people in the
Even in volunteer organizations. You know, in a volunteer organization, you say, well, who would like to do this? Boy, I'm telling you, it's like the Navy, nobody.
Do you think people in the community have the perception that homeless youth are troubled youth and that their safety would be at risk if they took them in cars?
Some
I
kids,
think
yeah.
that's a very good point.
And if that isn't the case, I mean, if the majority of these youth are good kids who wouldn't think of harming or stealing or et cetera, how do you educate community members of what the statistics are of the actual
I think-
crimes among that population?
If this were to go forward, I think it'd be obviously, you'd have to do safety measures, you know, how to make sure you're safe. And regardless whether you think the person's gonna be good or bad, or, I mean, there's always taking a chance of something gonna happen. And so, I mean, just thinking off the top of my head, obviously you probably wanna have a male and a female, driver and passenger, and then whatever they're gonna pick up that way, there's no, you have both sexes of the car, and that way you don't have to worry about that possibility. Plus you have another adult just in case if something were to happen.
Well, then the whole accident liability, you know, if you're giving someone a ride and you're involved in an accident, then what?
Right?
How does that impact it too?
They need car seats for children.
Right?
That occurred to me too, yeah.
Yeah, and there's some good Samaritan laws that are gonna, you know, protect you to a certain extent for stuff like that. Another possibility here might be to use churches as opposed to individuals. If churches have vans.
They do.
Many churches have transportation where they're picking up people and bringing them to service, or, you know, taking them wherever for people in there. But what if a church, you know, what if we got a church that took one morning a week or one afternoon a week, just now you've got a whole church pitching in, the insurance is already there, now you're just paying, you know, the church is helping offset the cost of the, you know, drivers can be trained, they may even have CDL licenses if you know, they're driving the van. And then probably what we do is, if we're getting a van, we put a second adult on that bus so that there's never one adult alone with a minor. That might be a better way to pilot, and then give us time to look at, you know, at having individuals sign up. I would, you know, because I would think at the Y, we don't have this, but if we did, you know, we've got members that would stop and pick a kid up and, you know, and take them to school or do something. I mean, they would just do that regardless of the risk, and wouldn't even think about it. But churches might be the better avenue here.
That's a very, very good point. I mean,
That's
because
good.
even going back to, you know, that women's transit authority that I was talking about, it's kind of the same model per se, but you're using an existing upfront capital, if you will. You know, the transit that's already out there. Then it's more of the scheduling and collaboration piece of it to pull that together. So, bus passes. Let's talk about those for a second. So, talked about student bus passes being discounted, but that's about it. And has there been any dialogue, to your knowledge, with Rochester City Lines? See, this is where it would be good if somebody representing them had shown up today, but as far as having discounted passes.
Probably that's what they did.
They probably did because of that, they probably would have seen the hot
There's
seat.
a target on their back.
And that would be especially good for, you know, if we could get buses to go to our RCTC and Crossroads and, you know, some of the higher learning. I'm starting to think back of hotspots that you wanna take people to again.
Well, right, yeah,
Uh,
so you're saying no buses come out here to RCTC right now?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Or, you know, but I don't know what they do for, if it's regular, but maybe even if they just did passes on
Mhm.
certain routes, so
Mhm.
they weren't discounting everything, but they
Good
could,
point, yeah.
and I don't know, do we even have buses that go out to Crossroads?
I think one goes by on Mayo.
Does it? Okay. Is there another college I'm missing? And we got our UMR, but that's right downtown, so that's got all kinds of buses
School of
going through.
Business?
Yeah.
That's close to a bus line too, I know they go up by New Car Row or
Okay.
something up there.
But how would you, if you're the bus line, how do you protect yourself from getting game numbers?
What would you say there?
Well, I think that goes back to the resource collaboration again, you
Yeah.
know, where there has to be a kind of a
Be some
group.
checks and balances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be a referral program from Link or the Olmsted Youth Commission. They could refer them to, you know, the city bus line with, the Rochester City Lines with a sheet of paper that says, you know, this person does have a need for this line, for the higher learning, you know, maybe we approach the Rochester City Lines with a request for passes for the lines that come out to the colleges. Or maybe that go out to this campus out here for the county services, or any, you know, anything that hits these services that could serve these people better. And maybe we get a referral sheet from Link, maybe we work together and make up some kind of sheet or something that says, you know, this person is in this program and has a need for this service.
That might be very helpful, and another thing is, you know, if the bus isn't full, it's not lost revenue to them.
Mhm.
But if there's certain times a day when they fill the buses, then those would be blackout times for the people with passes.
I don't know,
That's
don't
all
they really
going
get full though, do
There's some from the
Probably
Mayo
downtown,
perspective,
Right, right.
and those might be some of the,
During the peak morning and.
Yeah.
That bus that goes between downtown and Century,
yes.
that's packed.
Yes, yeah, and there's one between Cub Foods and Dunkin', but, and I'm driving from Peakling at the carpool lots or the shuttle lots.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
some of those direct routes, I think, would
Right.
hit the capacity, but overall,
Overall,
I think it would.
that's, you know,